So the St. Louis Cardinals split their series with the Cincinnati Reds this weekend, but what we really want to talk about today is the Ellie De La Cruz throw because we got a little stuff to talk about that. Nolan Arenado, what on earth do they do with him at this point? Cardinals, where do they rank among the NL contenders? And is their style of team building, of just making the postseason and seeing what happens, is that good enough in St. Louis, or should fans be wanting more? And we'll also talk about if this team is going to compete in October this year, what kind of moves do they need to start looking at the deadline? I think our expectations have changed even since the last time that we talked about deadline stuff. So we'll be talking about all this and more on this episode of Deal on the Cards. Hey, well, to start off the episode today, Andrew, I got to give you major credit. If you guys aren't over on X/Twitter, Andrew runs our account, social media. It's pretty fun. We like to post about the games, but we also like to post memes and fun videos and stuff too. So Andrew is not. Yeah, I'll let you describe the process of what happened. But basically, Andrew put a tweet out. You can describe it. It went like literal viral. Like Keith Law was responding to it. Clint Hurdle was responding to it. People were so confused or like in shock about it. Anyways, it went crazy. So we want to explain the context behind it because there's a lot of people who still don't get it, which is just, anyways, that's kind of mind-boggling to me. And then quickly discuss what happened. So Andrew, explain the meme real quick if people don't know on Twitter.
So basically, the Cardinals won Game 2 on a pop-up sac fly to the shortstop. I think it was the first 1-0 game in Major League history to end that way.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But essentially, Ellie De La Cruz, our favorite Reds shortstop, runs out and catches the ball instead of the center fielder for whatever reason. He wanted it, I guess, to show off his arm. And then he throws it wildly to the catcher. He almost bounces it off the backstop, if not for the pitcher covering. And MLB, they love to talk about Ellie De La Cruz. Even if he makes an error, I think he made a record-setting throw this season on a ball that sailed into the seats. So that was an MLB posted. It was like, is there anything Ellie De La Cruz can't do? So I just basically took some of that word choice and was like, oh, Ellie De La Cruz threw the ball 109 miles an hour, which I don't think is humanly possible. And I was like, is there anything he can't do? And I was just making fun of him because he gave us the game, right? And I guess everyone on Twitter was like, oh, Ellie De La Cruz threw the ball 109 miles an hour. And they just took that at face value. And either got mad at us for hyping up an error, or two, were like, wow, look at Ellie De La Cruz. He's so good. Like, there was a prospects account that was like, that was resharing that video and said that Ellie De La Cruz, like, if you watch the video, it was very clearly not a hard throw for his standards. And I don't know. I don't know what the StatCast was on that. I'd like to find out, but I would bet that it wasn't even over 90 miles an hour. So I don't know. And Josh is muted. Thanks, Josh.
Sorry, I took a screenshot because I'm going to put the tweet up if people want to see it. You just watch it and it's like, there is no human, like, I just don't know how people believe that was real. Like, it was clear satire. It's like no one off their flat foot is going to throw 109 miles an hour. Like, let's get real here. And no, people believed it. So unfortunately, oh, here we go. The screenshot. Let's see if I can upload it. It's in my documents. Anyways, so I just thought that was really funny. People got upset about it because they thought we were being legit on it. Here's the tweet. If anyone has seen it yet. If you're listening on audio, sorry, you can go look. Anyways, we're dealing the cards on Twitter/X. I don't even think you really have to have an account to go look at stuff like that. But here's the tweet. Ellie De La Cruz, another fantastic throw at 109.2 miles per hour. It's the fastest throw in StatCast history. What does anything can't do? All the people who responded and thought that we were like all over Ellie. It's like, clearly we're a Cardinals account. Clearly it's satire. But anyways, now something that's not satire is Nolan Arenado right now. Like, his play, I hope is satire. Like, I hope it's a joke. I hope that he's going to turn it on at some point here. Also, Keith Law responded. So basically, what happened was some bigger names jumped in, like some people from MLB.com, because a prospect account shared it, and they tried to tell everyone that it was real. Like, hey, he threw 109 off his flat foot. And so people were responding to them because they, like, ours is clearly satire. It should be as clearly to people. And they posted it and then just left it up even after we debunked it. They didn't give us credit. So clearly they saw our tweet and then put out their own tweet to try and take credit, or to get money, monetization. And they were clearly wrong. And then all these like writers and prospect people were like, Keith Law, are calling them out, being like, clearly they like just want the views because they're not going to get rid of this tweet. Anyway, so, but the Nolan Arenado stuff, like, It's time. Like we're almost in July now. I think I remember when we were talking about the offense struggling, I kept saying like at some point the conversation had to change, and it did change with us here on the podcast where I was just like, I don't know what to do anymore. But I remember I kept saying until it's the middle of June, I feel like some of these guys, you just give them a little bit of like credit here because they're just their names. Like at that point, I was like, I have to trust that Nolan Arenado is going to figure it out. I have to trust that Paul Goldschmidt is going to figure it out. Honestly, we need to talk about Paul Goldschmidt too. It's not just Nolan Arenado because Paul Goldschmidt has a lower OPS right now. It's bad. He started to kind of heat up a little bit and then slow down. He's at a 655 OPS. Nolan Arenado is a 693. Arenado's defense has really fallen off. I mean, he's supposed to be the leader of this team, and he's the bigger conversation because you've got him locked up for a couple more years here at 30 million, then goes down to like 25 million, and then or 28 and then 25 because the Rockies are paying some of that money as well. I don't know what to do anymore. He doesn't want to sit. Ollie talked about that before the game, that Nolan thinks the only way he's going to get out of it is he plays every day. And even if I don't like, even if that makes sense, it's like, dude, you're hurting the team when you're out there a lot of times. Obviously, the Cardinals aren't at full strength right now, so it's not like you look at the bottom of their lineup and it's not like Lars Nootbaar sitting right now. It's not like Jordan Walker. I mean, Jordan Walker's doing well in AAA, but he's not back up yet. So he's not really taking playing time from anyone that matters right now. So I'm not really sure there is another option, but I don't know, Andrew. Like at this point, what do we do with Nolan Arenado?
Yeah, there were comments from Ollie Marmol earlier today, I think, that said that he's going to let him play through it. Arenado wants to play through it. He's obviously not happy with the way that he's playing, but like it's affecting a lot of like just the team in general, right? Like the game that Sonny Gray pitched yesterday. If Arenado turns that double play that he is accustomed to turning, like it's a routine. It's a tough play, but for Nolan Arenado, 9-10-time Gold Glover, it's a routine play for him. And you get out of that inning, you have a real chance of winning that game, right? Like it's not going to be a game where you turn to Gordon Graceffo to close out the last like 4 innings of it. That's just not going to happen. And you turn to your bullpen, you have a chance to win that game. It's all of those unearned runs are because Arenado misplayed that ball, and that's tough. Even Gold Glovers will make those errors, but he's been making a lot more of those. His defense has really slipped, even from last year, and his hitting, he's just not hitting. He has like 5 or 6 home runs this year. It's not good at all, and you have to figure it out because. Like we even talked about it in our trade deadline proposals earlier this month, where it's like you could try to move him to the Dodgers. You might still have to eat some salary, but at this point, I don't even know if, like, from a Dodgers perspective, with the money that's involved, that he's an upgrade over like Kike Hernandez or whoever's over there at third base. He's not, right? Because you're not going to pay $30 million for that. You could probably go out and get someone who's just as good for like a quarter of that. And it's really unfortunate, the situation we're in. You have to trust that he's going to get better, because I don't think there is an option to trade him anymore. I feel like if he bounces back a little bit, has a better second half, takes the the All-Star break to reset, and comes back and is like even a little bit of what he used to be, even if you contend, you make the playoffs, I think at the end of this season, in the offseason, you have to think about trading him. You have to hear offers for him because just of what you've seen. And if you can get a deal where you eat minimal salary, or if you get a deal that involves like some amount of prospect return, you go out and do it, because you can't afford to have so much money sunk into a player like Nolan Arenado, who's just not going to perform for the remainder of his contract. And I did not think that this is where we were going to be with him like 2 years ago when we had the opt-out. We were like terrified that this guy might opt out. Honestly, if he opted out, it's not the end of the world right now. You're looking at a completely different team. And you might have a bat at third base that's a lot better, but he needs to figure it out. And then I think even you bounce back, you make the playoffs, you make a run, like barring this team like makes it deep, like NLCS, World Series, because Arenado's playing well, I think you have to think about moving him regardless at the end of the season, and that's just kind of where we're at. And Paul Goldschmidt, honestly, I think there's a world where you look at moving him at the trade deadline to some team that needs a first base bat. You stick Alec Burleson at first base, and you call up Jordan Walker. Because Jordan Walker, his numbers, like when he was up here, weren't good at all, but he has more upside than Goldschmidt, and you can take some of the salary that you're paying Goldschmidt and go out and get some of those arms that you're looking at. So we're at a point where it's really tough with these guys, and I didn't think we would be talking about this at all, but it's just kind of where we're at. Both have OPS like around 650, 670, and it's not good right now at all, and it just needs to change.
Yeah, I'm with you on the like. I'd love if they explored trading Paul Goldschmidt and then doing the Burleson at first base and Walker in the outfield. I just don't feel like that's what they're gonna do. Like it
No, I don't think they
doesn't
will.
feel very. And I didn't necessarily think you thought that, but it like for people who throw it out there, it's like, oh, why don't they do it? It just there's a lot involved with that. I think it's part of the beauty and the difficulty with the fact that we are such a hit, like as a like Cardinals enjoyers and the Cardinals organization, they do value the stability. They do value celebrating their players. They keep them a little bit too long because we want them. We don't want to see Yachty in a different uniform. We don't want to see Pujols go somewhere else. Like but I would argue those are a little bit different than Paul Goldschmidt because he didn't get drafted by the Cardinals. He hasn't been here for a decade plus. Like, I think it's a little easier to rip the Band-Aid off than maybe the Cardinals think with that. But I also wonder clubhouse too wise. I don't know how that would play. Like, even if he's not playing well, I'm guessing there's guys in there who are like, why would you trade Paul Goldschmidt? So I don't know, especially Nolan Arenado there too. It's like you're not gonna like you said, they're not gonna be able to move Nato. So you move Goldschmidt. I don't know how that plays. And you're kind of stuck with Nato for, like you said, for a while. I just don't think, like, if I'm the Dodgers, I don't want Nolan Arenado right now. People are like, oh, they can afford it. It's like, sure, they could, but like, if I'm the Dodgers, I'm looking at my payroll right now, and I'm like, if I'm going to be adding significant salary, I want to be doing it by players that are younger, guys that I think are going to perform really well, not hoping Nolan Arenado is better than he is. I don't see it. Also, someone just asked if it's too late to attempt to move Burleson to first base. No, I think he's played it a little bit this year already. I believe. I don't know if he's logged time there.
Yeah, he played it in the game
last year
that
for sure.
Goldschmidt had off. Like he played it this week.
Yeah, so Burley will be the first baseman in the future at this rate. I can see the Baker stuff. I know people throw it out there, but I think there's a reason the Cardinals are like. I know the Cardinals can do really weird stuff sometimes, but they're not that dumb. Like if Baker was that good, like a prospect, like we'd be hearing it nationally all the time. Like, why is Lucan Baker not up? We'd be hearing prospect lists be like, Lucan Baker's a stud. It's like no one talks about him because there's clear holes in his swing. He gets really, really hot. He's kind of like Nolan Gorman, but not Nolan Gorman, where he like gets into these ragers and just swings. And it's like I've seen people bring up the point of when he gets hot, they should call him up, let that hot streak happen in St. Louis, and then bring him down. Sure. But I don't really see them using Lucan Baker as the first baseman in the future. And I definitely don't see them moving Goldschmidt to make it happen now. But yeah, with the Nato stuff, I think you're stuck with him. I don't think anyone in baseball would want him right now. I think you kind of just got to wait it out and see what happens. And this offseason, like you said, Andrew, if it goes poorly the whole year, then maybe you start to look at seeing if you can orchestrate something. Those kind of deals make more sense in the offseason because all the money's coming out the books for teams. They can reassess, they can make these bigger swings. It's harder to do at the deadline. It's harder to do that. So, and you could look at a world where it's like, okay, if they move that Nato money, which is a lot of money, like if they could somehow not pay it down, that's 30 something million you freed up for next year on top of Paul Goldschmidt's 25. Now, something I don't think people are taking enough into account, because I've heard some people be like, oh, you're moving you're not re-signing Paul Goldschmidt, so you're saving 25 million. So that's 25 million more that they could spend this offseason. No, because Sonny Gray's contract goes up 15 million this next year, and then it goes up another 10 million the year after that. Let's see, Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Gorman, Brendan Donovan, and John King all hit arbitration for the first time. So they go from like $700,000 a year to $2 to $3 million each, which I know that's small, but it goes up. Helsley's in another year of arbitration, so that's going to go up more. And you're probably going to look to extend some of those guys so that you don't have to pay as much on the back end. So it's a little bit thinner than people would like to believe. Now, if you can move an Arenado, if you could move a Steven Matz, if you can move some money, they have at least $30, $40 million to splash around. And theoretically, they don't have as many holes to fill this time around, so they maybe could make a little bit bigger of a splash in the offseason, but that's too far ahead. But that's one of the reasons even I'm like, well, maybe it would be worth trying to figure out Nolan Arenado trade because you could free up a lot of money there. And even if it's just to sign a bunch of extensions on team-friendly deals, that's one way to do it. Or they could go out and get some more pitching. They could go out and get a bat. Like maybe when you free up that kind of money, you're not paying like the only guy making over 20 million next year would be Sonny Gray then. So like at that point, you could convince yourself to go out and make a splash. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things where it's like maybe last year they should have taken the Dodgers bait. Like at this point, how things currently stand, is that gonna be how we feel in 3 years from now? I don't know. But I remember last July being like super upset that the Dodger narrative was going on. It was like, no way the Cardinals trade Nolan Arenado. This doesn't make any sense. It's all from the Dodgers side. And no matter what happened there, clearly the Dodgers were interested. Cardinals probably should have been interested. And it sucks. And you could have gotten something for him back then and offloaded that contract. You weren't getting like people said Bobby Miller. Like they were not going to trade Bobby Miller to the Cardinals. But could you have gotten some decent pitching prospects? Cleared $35 million off your books? Yeah, you probably could have. And can you do that now? No. I doubt you can clear off all the money without eating it, and you're not getting anything in return. Even if you pay it down, I don't think you're getting much. So honestly, the Cardinals would be like hoping to get what they traded for Nolan Arenado back, like to get the Austin Gomber and Montero type of thing back. Like that's what you're looking at for trade value now. So you're stuck with him. You got to figure it out. And I still think he's the kind of guy that could, like, if you told me at the end of the season he's not prime Nato, but he's at least like pretty good, I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. But man, you watch him right now and he looks like a guy who's just lost it, and that happens. We've seen it with the greats before. And Nolan Arenado is a guy who's super pull happy. People have gotten really frustrated he's gotten away from it, but honestly, in some ways it makes sense because you see his body deteriorating. He just doesn't have that ability to do that anymore. So I don't really know what you do with him other than you sit and wait. But to your point, when guys get healthier and Jordan Walker's available, maybe you got to have some hard conversations. But I don't know I think that's more about getting more off days for Goldschmidt and Arenado than it is to bench them at this point. You let Goldie walk in the offseason, you explore Nato stuff in the offseason. But anyway, so we could probably beat that to death, but we'll continue to talk about Nato as the season goes on. Something I did want to ask you, Andrew. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to make a joke. But like if Goldie really wants to be here next year, just sign into Brandon Crawford's contract and let him play that role. But whatever.
Oh, gosh. Could you imagine if Goldschmidt was the veteran leadership off the bench? Oh, man. So we'll see. We'll get into some trade deadline chatter in a minute because I know there's some people who've thrown out some ideas out here. But something I don't know if you guys read our stuff over at Redbird Rants. I'm the site editor over there, so put out a couple stories today. And one of the ones that has got a lot of discourse on Twitter, which I think is /X, Facebook as well, that I think is interesting. Andrew, I really wanted to hear your point, and then I'll kind of dive into mine a little bit. You can go read it over on Redbird Rants. I forget the exact title, but basically it's like, the premise is, are Cardinal fans too championship or bust now? And here was my point here. It wasn't to actually, no, I'm not gonna get fully into the point. I'll explain it here. So, Andrew, what do you think about the idea of Cardinal fans not valuing the idea of making the playoffs anymore? The question I posed was, why do so many fans think it's just unacceptable not to win the World Series? And if you're not a World Series contender, it's a failure. Why do you feel like there are a lot of Cardinal fans that feel that way? I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, but it has grown in that way. Do you feel that way? Why do you think Cardinal fans feel that way? And also in the comments on YouTube, or if you're watching later, let us know what you're thinking in the chat.
I feel that way more now than I did before, because before I was like, yeah, just make the playoffs. The playoffs are super fun. And to see your team in the playoffs, it's a ton of fun every year. But with what has happened in recent playoffs, I haven't done the math, but I think the Cardinals have lost 9 of their last 10 playoff games, including like 2019 getting swept by Washington in the NLCS. Like obviously the NLDS was really fun. There's a Yachty walk-off and then the 10-run inning against Atlanta. That's great, right? You always have those highlights there. Like even like now, like when Yadier Molina is inducted into the Hall of Fame, they'll play that clip of him walking off the game. Game 4, even though the Cardinals didn't win anything. And that's great, right? You want those like great moments. That's what makes playoff baseball fun. I don't think you have to win a championship, but you have to do more than what the Cardinals have done recently, right? 2020 doesn't count, but like that was a bad series against the Padres. Not a lot to be taken from that. You should have won the game in two. The series in 2 games. I don't know why you put Daniel Ponce de Leon or whoever into the game in a high leverage situation. Fernando Tatis hits a home run and becomes the cover of MLB The Show. It's like, yeah, that sucks, right? And then 2021, you go on this magical run, 17 games in a row. That highlight's going to be there forever. But then you just get stomped by the Dodgers after Chris Taylor hits a home run. And Chris Taylor, man, anyway, he's so frustrating to watch. But 2022, you have this magical run with Albert Pujols. He comes back, second half is prime Albert Pujols again. And then you get stomped by the Phillies in the playoffs. And it's like, well, what was all of that for, right? So, like, if you
stopped, I think's a little aggressive.
You got swept in 2 games.
Okay,
right?
I'm going to jump in now real quick. Like, Ryan Helsley hurts his finger in the last game of the regular season and then can't close game 1. Now, we can play what ifs all the time. So I'm not, but like, they should have closed. Like, if Ryan Helsley is healthy, you probably close down that game. You're up 1-0. There's a good chance you win the series at that point. And who went to the World Series? The Phillies. Like, this Cardinals team could have been in the World Series 2020.
Okay, but like, think about that, right? The last time Cardinals fans had a good playoff moment was when Juan Yepes hit the pinch hit home run and the Cardinals lost the game. It's like, okay, well, what did you get out of that? Nothing, right? Like, if the Cardinals had gotten past the Phillies and then they beat the Braves and then they lost in the NLCS in like 6 games to the Padres, I don't think there would be as much discourse about this, right? Like, you don't win the World Series, that's fine, but you still like had a good run. You had more than 2 games in the playoffs with Albert Pujols, right? Like, there's not a single Albert Pujols highlight from the playoffs that year. It's just not, because it was a terrible series for like.
He did get a hit in his last ever at bat.
Yeah, okay. I was there. I was very sad.
I was there too. Where were you sitting?
I was sitting behind the
I was in
first
left
base.
field. Okay, I was left field.
I was also in left field for half of it, and then yeah. Anyway, but you have all of these like magical second half runs, and then at the end of the day, it ends in a game or 2, and it's like that's what's frustrating, right? Like the Phillies, I think the example that you brought up in the article and on Twitter, like the Phillies haven't won a World Series, but they've been super fun to watch, right? They had that run in 2022. Last year was a little bit more fun. They took the Diamondbacks to 7 games. That was pretty disappointing. Like, if I was a Phillies fan, I'd be pretty mad about that. But like, you've had fun moments. You had Rhys Hoskins hit a grand slam. You had Gene Segura do whatever nonsense that he did in that game. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I guess they're happy about that. Good job. Good job, Gene Segura. You hit a ground ball that should have been a double play, but whatever. Those moments exist for some of those teams that haven't gotten championships. Like even the Dodgers, right? They have their fake championship in 2020, and they have some good moments too. Like I'm sure they'll get one in the next 10 years, but like right now they don't have anything, but their fans still have stuff to look back from on like moments in October. We haven't had anything like that in a long time. 2019, you had some of those moments in the Braves series. And then there was a 3-year span you didn't make the playoffs. 2015, that series against the Cubs was terrible. 2014, you're getting into like the Dodgers series against Clayton Kershaw, which is like some of the last like good playoff baseball we have. It's been 10 years, right? If you throw out the Braves series, it's been 10 years since like real playoff magic, since you won a game in the NLCS. So yeah, I think it's fair. I don't think like if the Cardinals made it to the NLCS this year, I wouldn't be mad if they lost to the Phillies. There were probably some fun moments along the way. You probably beat the Dodgers in a fun series, but like that'd be great. But I don't think it's too bad or whatever.
So here's the part that I don't know if people understand that I agree with that sentiment, but okay. I think it's possible. And the premise of my thing was, because I stated it multiple times, it's possible to be disappointed and frustrated that they keep getting knocked out early in the postseason while also appreciating and valuing the fact that they're consistently there. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of the baseball playoffs. And it's not an excuse. You can't use that as an excuse, but the Dodgers won in 2020 and they're the juggernaut. They won in the COVID shortened season. So do we even count that? So
No,
if the Dodgers haven't really won a World Series, then like why are we so like how on earth have the Cardinals not won a World
because
Series? So
they've
that's one
been to
thing.
the World
But
Series.
I get that, but like, okay, but like you didn't win it. I thought this is championship or bust, not World Series
Right.
appearance or bust. So, but so that's why I say I think we would probably feel a little bit better if the Cardinals were making the World Series, but they aren't. So I think it's possible to put in one box here. I am frustrated that the Cardinals do not do better in October, and they need to figure that out. While also being like, I am so glad they consistently make it to October because I don't want to watch a rebuild. Because I don't think people are acknowledging the fact that, okay, if it's championship or bust and the Cardinals keep not getting it done, what is the answer? Unless you're going to go out and spend like the Dodgers, the answer is you go into a rebuild. Now, sure, it could be a leadership change and it could be a manager change. Like that could help. But with how you look at this team right now, the other answer, if you're not content with just making the postseason this year, is to rebuild. And my point in this was okay, we all like to say the Cubs rebuild won the World Series. We all like to say the Astros rebuild won the World Series. Great. Two teams figured it out and they had to go through like 8 years between the two of them of absolute mediocrity where they're losing 110 games a year and it was brutal to watch and no one even remembers who was on the teams back then. Like it was horrible. Like I would hate like imagine that kind of baseball in St. Louis. No one would want that. It would be horrible. So so even though like say they endured that, they won, great. The problem is for every Astros and the Cubs, it's like they won one World Series. So it's like, is that worth it?
Yeah.
Maybe. The
Well, for
Astros,
them, I think it wasn't worth it. But
yeah, for them it was worth it. But like also, it's like it's disappointing. Like
it took them a century.
people thought the Cubs were going to go on a run and they didn't. The Astros has been clearly successful. That has been a huge home run. But then for every one of those teams, there's the
Well, they have
Athletics.
one legit World Series too. They cheated in 2017.
Okay, fair.
But
But then there's the Athletics, the Tigers, the Marlins, the Angels, the White Sox, the Pirates, the Reds. There's all these different teams that just continuously rebuild.
No,
and
the
they
Angels
never
actually
figure
have
it
the
out.
Cardinals model. They have not
Yeah.
tried to rebuild in the last decade.
But they
because
haven't
have
made the
this-
playoffs, right? Like, so I'm talking about like there's teams that just like don't make the playoffs. We talk about the Phillies. My point, the Phillies isn't that they haven't been exciting in the postseason. They've been awesome. But they went from 2000 after the 2011 season. They didn't make the playoffs again until 2022. That's a decade where the Phillies in a huge market did not make the playoffs. Is that what fans want? Because just because you go into a rebuild doesn't mean so that was my whole point. The premise is it's like I think people are just so done with John Mozeliak that they would say they'd rather see a rebuild happen than have him be in charge. And I'm like, I don't agree with that. Uh, I'm not. And my point here too is the change is coming. Mosaic sees it. The DeWitts aren't going to fire him. So I think it's actually. I think it says a lot about Mo that he's like, hey, I need to step away when he knows that he has infinite job security, basically. The Heimblum era, whatever it is coming and it needs to come. I'm totally for it. I think change has to happen. And you're starting to see, wow, you got some outside voices in it. Some things are changing. Some things look better. It's clear that needs to change. But I can also appreciate that the team has been in positions to win. And again, one injury happens another way, one ball drops a different way. This team might have more postseason success than we're giving it credit for. And I don't love the idea that if you don't win the World Series, it's a complete failure. And basically, it's like the NBA or NFL, where it's every offseason, everyone's like, how do we blow up our team and get another superstar? Because we tried one or two times and it didn't work. I get it. The St. Louis has been different than that, so it's not the same thing. But I think that was my whole worry.
You can play it those ways too. Like you can say, oh, if Ryan Helsley doesn't like stub his toe or whatever, like hurt his finger on, then he doesn't like blow the save. But like if Ron Washington doesn't put Nelson Cruz in right field, and the Cardinals have won,
for sure.
Like haven't won a World Series in like 15 plus years.
No,
it's like
for sure.
well,
But that's what I'm saying. And all of it, there is luck built into it. When whoever wins the World Series this year, there will be luck built into it. Unless they go on, like unless a team goes undefeated in the postseason and demolishes everyone in their path, every team has some things break their way. And it just hasn't done that for the Cardinals. Now, I'm disappointed by it, but I don't think it's I don't love I personally don't subscribe to because they aren't winning World Series. Everything's a complete failure, and so it's not fun to watch. And it's not it's like, why do I want this product? It's like I think it's still fun to watch a competitive team, and I'd rather watch a team that consistently makes the playoffs and has a chance, even if the chance is smaller, than to do, hey, we're going to push all of our chips in for 2 or 3 years and then we're going to be terrible for 10 years because we're going to get into this rebuild model. I don't love that. I think the Cardinals were ahead of the curve in the mid 2000s, and then with the start of, like, end of the Walt Jocketty era, early John Mozeliak era, of being a team that's consistently there, and they saw the results of it. But now a lot of organizations are like, oh, we should also build to be in the postseason because you'll never know what happens. Now, here's a couple of things I want to point out because I think people try to act like it's an anomaly that a wild card team does really well. The Rangers and Diamondbacks last year were both wild card teams and made the World Series. The Rangers won. Phillies were a wild card team in 2022 and lost the World Series. 2021, the Braves won the division at 88 games, so they weren't like some juggernaut, and they went on a run. 2019, the Nationals were a wild card team, and they went on a huge run at the end of the year. They were not a juggernaut. Like, the Rays, I think, were a wild card team in 2020. I mean, you go through, and there's a lot of like not juggernauts that make the World Series. So I don't think it's. I don't want to see a team build to just be good enough. The Cardinals need to do better than that. But again, I'm also not like this is complete failure. So I think it's a fun conversation to have. I don't think people are wrong to feel a different way. I don't think people just throw it off and be like, oh, championship or bust. I'm like, okay, so bust. Okay, tell me what they should do then. And if the idea is a rebuild, I'm like, dude, like, tell me, okay, you want to rebuild 3 years from now. Tell me if you're enjoying this rebuild or if you want to go back to winning baseball, because I don't think people would like it. So that's just me. But we do want to talk about the state of the Cardinals. Where right now, Andrew, do you rank them in the National League? Like, what teams do you take over the Cardinals right now? If the season ended today, we're going to playoffs, who are your power ranking? Like, how many teams do you get through before you get to the Cardinals?
Taking the Phillies and the Dodgers for sure.
Yep, totally agree.
And the Braves. And the Brewers.
You're taking the Braves?
Yes.
Okay.
And at this point, I'm taking the Brewers because they've just shown an inability to like lose, and it's really frustrating. And I was like, I don't know how they're doing this with the roster they've built, but clearly it works, right? It's like some of the A's, Rays teams. It's like, I don't know what they're doing, but I don't know, they're doing something right. And then it gets really tough because there's like 6 other teams that are right there with the Cardinals. I don't know if I would take the Padres over the Cardinals right now.
No,
they have, I don't know. Their roster is so weird. They have so many stars, but it just seems like they can never really put it together, which is really odd. And I don't understand how that works. I feel like the Padres should be a lot better than they are, but they're just not great. The Mets have McDonald's grimace magic going on. I'm not too high on them. They're also the Mets. The Diamondbacks, not really. I feel like if Jordan Montgomery pitched better, they could be better, but they get some of their hurt guys back. If Corbin Carroll wasn't terrible, but like, I don't think I would take them. The Giants, no, not really. We saw what the Giants are. They almost swept the Cubs though, which was pretty funny. The Pirates, I think, are actually kind of scary because Paul Skeens scares me a lot, and Jared Jones and their front line. Their rotation, I feel like, is built for playoff run, but right now, I don't think they have the bats to get it done. I guess we'll see because we're playing the Pirates next week. So actually, I take it all back. The Pirates, they're like the best team in the National League. They're so good.
Oh my gosh, stop. People are going to think you're legit. Okay, so but realistically, you're taking Phillies, Dodgers, Brewers, Braves.
Yeah, so like 5th.
Okay. I put them,
and then the Padres is kind of like a toss-up. I don't know.
I'm not on the Padres. I put them fourth. I put them below because you're right. The Brewers just won't stop losing, and they keep beating you. So I think you got to give them respect right now. And until the Brewers fall off or until the Cardinals beat them, I don't think you can put them above them. Phillies clearly are the class of the National League right now. The Dodgers are not far behind them. So
also, I feel like the Padres are going to trade their entire system for Luis Robert. It just seems like something that they're going to do. It's not smart long term, but it would be really annoying for this season.
Yeah, I could see that. Keanu, thanks for the super chat here, by the way. Here, I want to ask you first real quick. Are you staying around for a little bit? Because if so, we'll get to that and trade deadline stuff. If not, we'll answer it now. So just let us know in the chat if you're around for a little bit and can wait. If not, then we'll get to that right away since we're in the middle of the NL stuff, because we do want to get to a little bit of like pitching targets and stuff. But I'd say it's, for me, it's just the Phillies, Dodgers, and Brewers right now. I think I put them above the Braves, but not far above them. But I think like you just beat them 2 out of 3, and the Braves offense has also like completely cratered in a weird way. Like not as bad as the Cardinals, but like it's weird. Their pitching, they're like another injury away from being really weak in there. I think they'll be aggressive. But in general, I'm a big like on the Cardinals being like the fourth best team in the National League right now. Oh, also, Keneally, no problem at all. You weren't pushy. I just wanted to make sure that we want to get to it, especially if it's a super chat. So don't feel that way. I just want to check with you. But we appreciate it, by the way. And also, if you want to support the channel anyway, super chats are super awesome. Subscribing and liking the videos help the video get out there a ton as well. So if you're watching now, please do that. Helps it out a ton. And also, there is a channel membership. So if you're on, you can just for $1 a month. There's other tiers you can do too. But if you're on the web browser version of it and join our membership program, we have a Discord. So we have conversations like this in the Discord all the time, which is super fun. It's better than Twitter because that can just be a mosh pit, but like this is like legit Cardinal conversation. So it's a fun place to be. Yeah, I would put that. And I think that's part of the reason, like if we're talking about can the Cardinals keep it up, you kind of have to look at who are the other opponents first, right? Like you need to survey the landscape because like if there was, I don't know, like if the Dodgers were like randomly out of the playoffs right now, the Braves were, then I'd be like, I don't know if the Cardinals keep it up because the Braves and Dodgers are coming. But like the teams below you, I'm not scared of. The teams around you, I'm like, they're at worst your level. I don't think they're like substantially better than you. And out of all the teams right now, I think the Cardinals are the one that you can convince me the most has room to grow even before they make moves because they just got Contreras back. They don't have Nootbaar back yet. Maybe Tommy Edman comes back at some point. We'll see. But like the Braves are not getting Acuna back. They're not getting Strider back. The Mets, I feel like they're playing on a heater right now. I don't believe in them. The Giants, I'm out on that. The Diamondbacks, they have to have a lot of things go right and they're already behind you. Like the Pirates are the one you're right to me. They could be interesting. Like with the pitching they have, if they sneak into October, it's kind of the reason why people picked the Brewers in past off seasons because they had such a strong rotation. Like the Pirates could do something like that.
I don't believe in the Pirates to buy at the deadline though. I just don't think that's going to happen. But,
yeah, I would love it though. Like if they were in a different division, I would so be like Pirates buy, do something. But like I'm kind of scared of them, so don't do it. No. So I think that's where I'm at right now, which I think makes me think like, is it sustainable? Like, yeah, I think it is. And I mean, they're 7-3 in the last 10, and like I can't remember. I don't know what the official record is since May 12th now, but it's been a lot better. The run differential, I think, is a little bit overblown because like you can lose a game. Like they've had a couple blowout games, and they haven't blown out people. So
that's
it's like
what I want to see.
That's true, but I don't really like. Yeah, but I don't know like if Paul Goldschmidt puts up 8 RBIs in a game when they win 16-2, like that doesn't necessarily make me feel a lot better about him, honestly.
It'll make me feel a lot better about Paul Goldschmidt.
Fair, but like I don't feel great about stat padding in games. Like I care about the wins. Like I do think the run differential is like it's something to watch, but like I don't.
As long as you don't like hit like 3 home runs off a position player, I don't really care. Like
yeah, but like when you can tell when a team's kind of done. Like so, anyways, I think it's a fair thing to point out, but I think it's more of the Cardinals just don't beat up on teams. Like they don't win by 10 runs but they occasionally lose by that. Like if they're consistently losing by 5 or 6 runs, that'd be really concerning. But anyways, so I think they're the 4th best team. And then I think let's talk a little bit then trade deadline stuff. Let's talk about the start comment
4th best team.
Yeah, 4th best team behind the Brewers, Phillies, and Dodgers.
You think they're ahead of the Braves?
Yeah, they just beat. They took 2 or 3 from them.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I think right now.
The Orioles. Are we better than the Orioles? No. Like.
Okay, but like the Braves are only 3 games better than you in the standings right now. The Orioles are a much different story. Oh, yeah, so. Anyways, I just think there's room to grow there, but the Braves have room to grow too. It's as of today, like the Braves end the season could easily be one of the best teams in baseball again. So but like as of right now, if the season ends today, I think the Cardinals are the 4th best team in the National League. They could be the 3rd best team over the Brewers, but I think you have to give the Brewers credit. Like the Brewers would be the favorite in the series because again, they've been unstoppable this year. They have 50 wins.
You just need to apologize. I apologize to Imanaga, and he's had a 3 ERA now. Like I think you just need to apologize to the Brewers and say I wasn't familiar with your game or something.
Brewers, this is my official. Andrew, you can get this for the socials. Milwaukee, I'm sorry for thinking you're going to finish 5th in the NL Central. I'm sorry for doubting you. I thought this was finally the year you'd fall off, and you continue to prove me wrong. Honestly, Milwaukee has the devil's magic now, not the Cardinals. They're the team that every year just continues to play above what they have. But I'm sorry, Milwaukee. There you go.
There you go.
There's your
Now they're
apology.
going to lose like
Now
8
they're
of
gonna
their
lose.
next 10, and that's
I
going to be
love
great.
it. I love it. Now, see,
But,
Cody,
I mean, they're playing
that's
the
the thing.
Rockies.
Look at just go on fair. If you've never, I don't know if all people know this. Go
I mean,
Fangraphs
it's not the
roster.
rotation; it's their lineup. Their lineup
Well,
is like
even
one of the
that
best in
too.
baseball. Like,
But
I don't
go to
understand.
Fangraphs roster resource and look at their lineup, look at their bullpen, look at their rotation, and tell me that's a 50-win team. It's not. Okay. I know I just apologize. Sorry. Brewers, you're awesome. You're even better than the
Yeah.
numbers show.
Imanaga, if you look at his NPB stats, he was really like that's you're just saying the same thing. Like,
There was a tweet like a week ago that was like the luckiest and unluckiest pitching staffs and hitting, and the Brewers were top right. They were super lucky pitching and super lucky hitting so far. Cardinals were unlucky hitting, by the way, slightly lucky pitching, but not enough to qualify as lucky pitching. But they were.
That's because Nolan Gorman plays at Busch Stadium, and he would have been like 6 for his last 20 instead of like 1 for his last 20 because he hit like 4 wall scrapers.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, anyways, I think they're the 4th best team. Now, here's the thing. So, I think as currently constructed, you could squint and you can maybe beat the Dodgers, you can maybe beat the Phillies, but only I'm saying that because postseason baseball that can happen. I don't think they're that much different than the Diamondbacks last year right now, but you don't want to be like Diamondbacks model is not the model we're trying to build toward. Now, Andrew, let's talk about what are some moves you would need them to see at this point? Because I think last time we talked, we were talking about, okay, make a big swing. Do you sell or do you kind of do those small moves? Like that's what we thought they would do. But like, I think you could realistically sell yourself now that you can't do Garrett Crochet or Luis Robert, but like, could you go out and add a true number 3, number 2 starter? Could you go out and add another high leverage arm? Do you go out and add a bat? Like, what are the things you think they would need to add at the deadline to be? Obviously, I don't think they can get into Dodgers Phillies category, but to be like a team that's clearly in the mix for the 3rd best team and could in the playoffs do something.
I need Mo to do what he's done in past deadlines and get me a pitcher that nobody's talking about right now, that nobody knows about, that you don't even know is available, right? Like the Yankees, like, did we know that they were going to trade Jordan Montgomery? Was he on anybody's trade board? No, but like, go get a guy like that. Not Jordan Montgomery, obviously, because people are
here. Let's do that real quick.
Like, you can go get Montgomery. Like I'm not like.
Would you go get Montgomery now, and would you be interested in the offseason? Or how would you think the season be going right now if you'd sold? Do you think he'd be better if he was in St. Louis? I don't think so. Actually, I think if he had signed earlier in the offseason, I think the fact he signed so late has affected him.
Yes. I don't know what's going on with. I have him in fantasy on both of my teams, and I don't know what I should do with him because I still believe in the talent that he has, and like I don't know if I should keep him or not, but I don't know if he would be better right now. I think probably because he's like more familiar with it. Was he one of the guys who threw Contreras under the bus last year? I don't know if he was.
I don't know.
I know Flaherty was for sure, and then I don't know if like anybody else was part of that, but maybe he was. But he's familiar with the organization. He's had success here. I don't think he would be like horrible like he has been. I think you think about going after Montgomery. There's a lot of salary that he's coming with. I don't know how that would work with the tax because the Cardinals are kind of viewing the tax as a hard cap right now. Which is frustrating because they deferred some of Sonny Gray's contract. So I really hope that they don't go in like 2 years when Sonny Gray's making $35 million and be like, oh, we can't spend because they use the same excuse because the luxury tax penalty is higher for Sonny Gray this year than his actual contract is. But go out and trade for a guy that's under the radar, that's kind of like not that's kind of not being talked about right now, and hope it hits, right? And he's had success with that in the past. Quintana was a guy that was going to get traded, but like he wasn't viewed as like a top guy. But he's probably one of the best pitchers that was traded at that deadline. And same with Jordan Montgomery. Go out and get people like that to fill out your rotation. I don't get the extra bat thing. Like if Mo really wants to go out and get a bench bat to play center field, I mean, I'm not banking on Tommy Edman coming back at this point, but Michael Ciani's been fine recently. Like he's been on a heater.
Recently he's been really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I'm not too mad about that. And come playoff time, honestly, if you go Newt Barnes center, Donovan in left, and then Burleson in right, and then you DH Contreras or Herrera. That's probably better than Ciani, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's ways to work around Ciani in the lineup if he's not as good come playoff time. So I'm not too worried about that.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully Tommy Edman comes back.
I think the main issue Ciani is against left-handed pitching. He's just so
Right.
bad. So like, Tommy Edman's going to go on rehab next week. It sounds.
I mean, that's
like
what Dylan Carlson is for, right? Like,
yeah, but
I mean, I hate to bring that up,
but he's not
like,
good enough. Like, he's been better lately. But
he's fine against right. I don't know.
He used to be, or Dylan Carlson used to be fine against, or really good against lefties. I don't think he's even that anymore. I don't think he's good at all. But on the season, so like Dylan Carlson, like I know, like it's hard to trust Tommy Edman's going to come back, but like his ankle thing's the only thing that stopped him, and it sounds like it's actually done with already. He's going to go on rehab next week, so he probably will be back by this All-Star break. If Tommy Edman's back, I 100% agree with you. I don't know why you would add another bat. It just doesn't really make sense to me because you don't have the prospects to go get one that's actually significant enough.
Which I think should be on the table, but I don't think it'll happen.
Agreed. I think it should be, but I don't think they will. Let's look at oh my gosh. Dylan Carlson against lefties this year. 192, 271, 250 splits. Against righties, 205, 280, 227. Dylan Carlson is DFA worthy at this point. Like, I just don't think he has any value. Like, someone just put out Carlson for Waka. I would love it if the Royals said yes. Like, I know Waka's not been, I don't think Waka's been that good this year, and he's got multiple years, but like, I think Carlson gets you a reliever at best right now, and he's probably DFA worthy. So I think when Tommy Edman comes back, Dylan Carlson should be sent to AAA. Yeah. He's a guy that could non-tender this offseason, because I don't know if they want to pay him $4 million to be off the bench.
That's true.
So we'll see. Anyway,
but then he's going to turn into Tyler O'Neill and Adolis Garcia and whoever somewhere else. So,
yeah, I would love to hear what you, Andrew, think, and then the chat thinks as well, because I agree the Cardinals should not be in a position where they're trading a Tink Hence, Quinn Matthews. Like, they shouldn't be trading their top prospects to add. They cannot afford to do that.
No,
but could they, like, okay, so here's the guys I personally would for sure not be trading. I wouldn't be trading Thomas Ajayci or Chase Davis because you don't have the position player depth, so you kind of need to keep them. Obviously, you don't trade Jordan Walker or those MLB guys. But I would be like, here's the other prospects I want to trade. So like, I wouldn't trade JC or Davis right now. I wouldn't trade Tink Hence, Cooper Jerpy, or Quinn Matthews. Those are like all untouchable to me.
Would you trade Victor Scott? I would put him in that group.
Probably not. Yeah.
You don't have center field.
Because I don't think, well, because you do have Ciani and Edman, so like you have stuff. You Chase Davis at some point, but like, and you can go get a center fielder. I just don't think, I think Victor Scott's worth more to you than he is in a trade, so that's why I wouldn't trade him. But would I throw Takeo Roby on the table? Would I throw, I don't know, anything else? Like, so here's my point though. To that is not going to get you Garrett Crochet. It's not going to get you.
I've heard the Dodgers have already been turned down for a Crochet package.
I could see. I mean, they're going to want the world, but I just saw it was reported that they're definitely trying to trade him this summer because they couldn't get him to sign an extension. But like, okay, could Takeo Roby be the centerpiece of a Nathan Eovaldi package? I think maybe. I don't know what Evaldi's trade value is, but like, I could see it. I think Takeo Roby could definitely get you Max Scherzer. If they're selling, like, he's 39, he's injury issues. He's been really good so far. He's come back. It's a 1.74 ERA and 2 starts. So like, if he's pitching that good, maybe not. Kevin Gossman has not been very good this year. His strikeout stuff's really fallen off, so that's kind of concerning. So, but like, I think the Blue Jays could be open moving that contract, and they probably eat some of it too. So like, I think
more intriguing from the Blue Jays.
You say Kikuchi, I could see it. It would be a little underwhelming, but here's my, like, I think that's the more likely move, but I think there's a scenario where you could open up, like, could you do the tier between Crochet, what we thought Jesus Luzardo was going to be? He's not going to be traded. He's hurt, and he's just not been good. And but above Kikuchi and Nick Pivetta and all those guys, could you go get a Gausman? Could you go get a Nathan Eovaldi? Could you go get a Max Scherzer? I think you potentially could. Maybe even Justin Verlander's available if the Astros are out of it, right? Like, there's Zach Eflin. Like, I think there's guys like that, like, I don't know. I think I'm not saying Takeo Roby should be the guy you send for all those guys, but you've got a prospect like that, and you've got Zach Showalter on the lower levels. You've got some interesting bats at the lower levels that teams can bank on. When you don't have any control on a player, their value goes down significantly. So I think like Jordan Montgomery was probably the best arm available at the deadline last year. Outside the fact that Verlander and Scherzer both got moved, but the only reason they got big stuff back in returns because their contracts got paid down significantly. But like Montgomery was really the big package, and he got the Cardinals two guys that ended up being top 100 prospects in the year, but they weren't like Sajasi wasn't, and even at the time, even after the season that he had, wasn't universally seen as a top 100 prospect. And Takao Roby was by some places. So like I don't think, and Jordan Montgomery again was super good. So like again, can you get some of these other guys? I think you potentially could. I would love for them to shop in that area. I also think like a Pete Fairbanks from the Rays, who's been a really good closer for them. He went to Mizzou. I think like adding a reliever like that could be really interesting because then you make your bullpen like truly elite and it's truly something that you could go to in the fifth inning of a playoff game and truly lock it down from there because you have Hernandez, Fairbanks, Romero, Helsley, Kittredge's like your fifth guy at that point. So I think there's some interesting scenarios there where you could do something like that. So I think there's a way they can add something significant that makes me think like I know Kevin Gausman's arm's been like dead this year, but like they added Gausman, I would be like, this is interesting. If they added Eovaldi or Scherzer, I'd be like, again, I'm not picking them over the Dodgers or the Phillies right now, but I mean, you've got Sonny Gray and Max Scherzer. I think you can do something. So I would love them to see shop in that category. Do you think that's possible, or do you think I'm kind of out of my mind right now?
I think that's possible. Yeah. What if they traded? People are going to hate me for this. What if they traded one of Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Gorman to the Mariners for one of their arms? Yeah. Like a Jordan Montgomery type trade. Because I feel like those two are the most expendable on the major league roster.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what Gorm's value is. I kind of think teams haven't already valued him all that much anyways. I think Newt's maybe the guy that could get you something. And then to your point, you've got Donovan and Burleson for the corners for this year. You've got Goldie at first base because they're not moving him.
Yeah.
So I think realistically, if you're going to get a bigger swing with control, it's Nootbaar. But I personally, because I'm like, I think I'd be more moved by that idea if they were like a legit World Series contender right now, or they could be a legit World Series contender. I don't think I'm moving Nootbaar to make him, even if it's for a guy with control, to be like to be a puncher's chance. Because what I would say is next year you've got Sonny Gray, you have the option to bring back Gibson, you have the option to bring back Glenn, you've got Michaelis under contract, whatever that means, and you've got Matz under contract. So throw out Matz, but like next year at this
pitchers, guys.
True. At this rate, though, next year you should have Quinn Matthews available. Like, let's talk about Quinn Matthews. 5 1/3 today, 1 hit allowed, 1 earned run. This guy is probably a top 50. He's I've seen people say, and I think by the end of the year he might be a top 50. Not might be. He's going to be a top 50 prospect in all of baseball at least. With how good he's been. He touched 98 today. When he was drafted, he was consistently sitting in the low 90s. This is a completely different pitcher than the one the Cardinals have drafted. And I don't know if this was Quinn Matthews coming out of his shell or if this is the Cardinals player development, but they have struck gold with Quinn Matthews so far. You've got Tink Hensey looks awesome. Cooper Jerpy looks awesome. So again, I'm not saying all three of those guys are going to work out, but I'm pretty confident one of those three guys at least is going to be in your rotation next year performing. So I don't have a huge need to go get Bryce Miller or like Brian Wu or whoever for Nolan Gorman or for Lars Nootbaar. I'd rather keep all those bats and then upgrade the rotation internally and make some free agent moves than to do that. I don't think they have to do that. I think you can keep all the bats because right now it's kind of murky with Goldschmidt being there, but like next year, like you said, you move Burleson to first base, Door Walker's in right field. All of your elite bats are playing. All your young bats that you value are playing now. So JC's off the bench if he can turn it around. And then depending who you draft, like it's way too early. 2025 they won't be there, but like that doesn't block anything really either. So I think you're right. It's interesting to explore the idea of it, but I don't think they should do that. So, because I think this offense again. I know it sounds like we're a broken record at this point, but even if it's not this year, I think the long term, what you're looking at is this offense should be a really interesting unit. And also with none of these guys, like Burleson maybe could be a middle of the order bat, like a real one, but like none of these guys are really emerging as a real middle of the order bat yet. So I don't know if I want to give up any of them because I kind of need to like keep them all to see if any of them can do that. And if one of them, what if Lars Nootbaar ends up being that bad? It's like, oh gosh. But if you keep all of them, and even if they don't, then at least you have a really good lineup up and down, not 1 through 9, and you can go use money to go get that big bat. So, anyways, I'm kind of talking in circles at this point with that. But so, anything else you think deadline wise? I think personally, you go try to get that number 2-esque starter without control, like a Scherzer. Kevin Gausman does have control, but he's an interesting situation, like a Eovaldi and /or. Well, you need another arm, so you need a rotation arm. I hope it's that, but then potentially a high leverage arm in the bullpen.
Kevin Gausman really scares me because I feel like Kevin Gausman could become like a Miles Michaelis, but
yeah. So I think like the only reason I would do it is that the Blue Jays pay down his contract some, because he's at $22 million a year, so it's not bad already. But like Miles Michaelis makes 18, so like if they're willing to get him down to 18, 17, 16 million, I think I'd bank on the upside. Miles Michaelis never had that upside. Like Kevin Gausman the last 3 years has been among the strikeout leaders in all of baseball. So like this could be.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah. So like this could be his Shane Bieber year. Remember like last year he fell off and like wasn't good, and then started this year Shane Bieber was awesome. So I think again, I'm not saying Kevin Gausman pay for him like he's an ace, but like if they are willing to sell him at a discount, I'm interested. So, but probably not at 22 million. So
I think if Kevin Gausman gets traded, they have to blow it up, and I don't think the Blue Jays are going to blow it up. So
yeah, that trade definitely hinges on if Vlad or Bo Bichette end up being moved. But if they're looking to move those guys, though, I don't know why you wouldn't move Gausman, because like I don't look at. Yeah, so at that point you got to move all that. So, if anyone has any questions or anything you want, sorry, we've been trying to pay attention.
Oh, do we want to talk about Graceffo real quick? Because people are upset that he got.
Oh yeah. So you can get into that if you want to.
Yeah, so Gordon Graceffo was called up to fill innings for this Red series because the bullpen's been taxed, and he came in for mop-up duty yesterday. He pitched pretty well, and then he got sent down today for I don't know how to pronounce his name, but Jacob Bosjakovic.
He's a two-way player.
He's my if he gets in that bat, I'll buy a jersey. But I know Mo would never dare let one of his pitchers bat unless it's like Luis Castillo today, where he had to take an at bat because the Mariners DH got hurt. That was pretty funny. But hopefully their DH is okay. But anyway, people are upset because they don't understand how the Memphis shuttle works. And Josh wrote a very nice article. You were like, I'm gonna write a quick and short article, and I read it. I was like, this is like 10 pages. Like I don't know what this is. But
10 pages? I don't think
it was very long. I mean, I know how the Memphis shuttle works, but
I feel like it looks long on like iPhones or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I had to explain it because people don't understand. Like, okay, so because I think it gets confusing. I used to be confused about this too. Like, I had to do some digging to be like, oh, I'm messing this up. Okay, here's the thing. So when you call up a player on your 40-man roster, you send them back down. You use an option year, not an option. Like you have 3 option years as a player. The first time you get sent down during a season, that's your option year used. You can now be called up and sent down 5 times throughout the rest of the season before you have to be passed through waivers. So calling up Graceffo, sending him back down, they can call him back up again later and send him back down again. They don't use another option. They use a year option, they get an option within the year, but they don't use one of his actual options. The Memphis shuttle makes sense because right now the Cardinals are playing, I think it's 17 games in 17 days, 18 games in 18 days, something like that. And they had a doubleheader in there. So they technically had an off day, but they're at the stadium the whole day preparing to play. And then they didn't play. They did a doubleheader next day. The reason you call up Graceffo and then send him down, they called him up because they knew they might need some innings. Sonny Gray went a short start. Graceffo went to 4 1/3 innings through like almost 80 pitch. I think it's 68 pitches. He's going to be unavailable for 3, 4, maybe even 5 days. So if your bullpen's thin and you're already saying, hey, this player cannot pitch for 4 days. Let's say it's 4 games. Then it's like, okay, now we have 7 arms to use. Well, after 1 game, we might only have 4 arms to use. Like, it's not super helpful. You look at how the Cardinals bullpen's currently constructed. You don't send down Ryan Helsley, obviously. Jojo Romero's out of options. You're not going to send him down. Ryan Fernandez, you can't send down because he's a Rule 5 pick. You can't send down Andrew Kittredge because he'd have to go through waivers. John King and Matthew Liberatore are both in they only have one option left and they haven't been sent down yet this year already. So if they were to send them down, that uses their last option year, which means in 2025, the Cardinals cannot send down Matthew Liberatore or John King without using an option. So they should not send down John King or Matthew Liberatore, and more so Matthew Liberatore, unless they need to, because next year they might want to send them down at some point and they wouldn't be able to. They'd have to DFA them and put them through waivers. You don't want to do that. So, and then I missed an arm in there. And then Gio. So Gio doesn't have any options either. They could, and they probably should at some point DFA him. But right now they're going to see if they can get something out of that asset. So right now there's only one spot in the bullpen that you can send down and bring up a new arm, and that is that 8th spot. That's why you've seen Roycroft. That's why you've seen Leahy. That's why you've seen Graceffo now. That's why you've seen a bunch of different guys come up and come down. And you might see this guy, I can't remember how to say his name, get sent down here in a few days too, and bring up Sam Robersa or Zach Thompson or Nick Robertson probably is the most likely, because they need to keep.
Just try it. Why not?
Stop it.
That's fun.
So anyways, you need to send a guy up and down right now because you need to cover these innings. That's why Graceffo got sent down. It's not because the Cardinals are idiots and are like, oh, he pitched really well, so let's get rid of him. I think he probably impressed them and they're like, okay, hey, if Palante goes down or we don't want Palante and don't have another starter yet, maybe we use Graceffo and try him out. Or maybe Graceffo gets a role in the bullpen later. King has kind of looked like he's seeing a wall right now, but he's been so good that I don't think you send him down yet. But there might be a spot where they do maneuver King off, or they do DFA Graceffo, or not Graceffo, Gio, and then you have 2 bullpen spots.
Use King's option already?
No, they haven't sent him down this year. Oh, wait.
I think they did. After the Max Muncy nonsense in LA. Oh.
You're right. I messed that up. Okay, so John King you could send down. But right now you're not going to do that, right? You're not going to send John King down because he's been pretty good. So you could send him down soon. We could see a John King sent down. But that's the point. Even without that, Graceffo was going to be unavailable for at least 4 days, probably at least 3 days, but probably 4 or 5. That's not what you need in your bullpen right now. So he did his job. He was awesome. He's going to get another shot, but that's kind of why that didn't happen. So, if there's any other questions that people have as they're going through, let us know. I'm been looking through the chat. I think we've gotten stuff. Excited about the draft coming up. We've got a draft live stream. So if you guys haven't seen that, we're going to be live streaming probably about 20 minutes before the draft actually starts. We're going to preview it. We've got some different guests that are going to come on as well and talk about the prospects and what we should be talking about. So we'll go through the first probably 10 picks. We'll get through the top 6, then cover the Cardinals pick, and then maybe linger for a few more picks after that. But we're excited. I know Andrew would love to see them pick 2-way guy from Florida, CAG, but I'm on the JJ Weatherholt bandwagon.
Yeah, no, actually,
Chase David. Oh, you have?
I would like the Rockies to take Jack Caglione, develop him as a 2-way star, and then trade him to the Cardinals because Mo's already told me. He told me face to face that they would never develop a 2-way guy. So they have to have someone else develop him for him.
Well, I thought he maybe said something to the effect of, unless they're like a DH type, which that's CAG. So,
yeah.
Anyways, you're right, though. It's more likely if he goes to the Rockies that it works out. So I think right now my top 3 is Weatherholt, Chase Burns, but it's not good. So Chase Burns Chase Burns and Weatherholt are equal to me. Probably Chase Burns, but I don't think he's going to be there. So my top 3 realistic is Weatherholt is my first one. Hagen Smith is my second, lefty from Arkansas, and the third is probably Braden Montgomery from Texas A&M, switch hitting center fielder. So we'll see how that works out. So we've got that draft stream coming up. Obviously, we'll be continuing to cover the team as the week goes on. So Wednesday catch us as well. That'd be the day before 4th of July. So maybe we'll get some fireworks from the Cardinals. So Andrew, anything else on the way out from you?
Yeah, we got another super chat. Thanks, Neilio. Do either of you see a certain number or batting average Gorman has to reach in order to be pulled out of the lineup? Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh. I just realized it's definitely Neilio, not Canelio, like I've kept saying.
Yeah.
I'm such an idiot. Oh, gosh. Whoever Cream picks is who they should draft. Or who they draft. Here's my thing with him right now is, like, who else do you put in there?
Donovan.
Yeah, but then who do you put in left field?
Walker.
Okay, like if they were
Burleson
to
and
do
left
the
and Walker and right. Yeah.
okay, yeah, if they were willing to do the Walker thing, but also like I'm not calling up Walker until they think he's done. Like you cannot call him up and send him back
Well,
down again.
Newbar's going to be back in like a week, so
Yeah. So I think when
um,
Newbar comes back, maybe you could see Gorman get sent down. Maybe. But here's the thing, he's like I don't know how much AAA helps him. Like I think his problem
yeah.
is big league pitching. So I don't know. Maybe you just give him less playing time.
I mean, here's the thing, right?
We've
You're
also seen
DHing
this
Matt Carpenter every day with Newbar out.
Yeah.
I don't want like if you give me the choice between Matt Carpenter and Nolan Gorman, because I feel like I've been seeing better swings out of Nolan Gorman. Strikeouts are going to be a part of his game even when he's hot, so I'm not too upset with that. But like the last couple games, he hit one yesterday that was a wall scraper, and I was like, ah man, that's Bush. And he's been, I think he's seeing the ball a little bit better. I feel like he's about to turn a corner, which is why I haven't dropped him in fantasy yet. But I don't know. He's never going to be an average. I feel like if it drops below like 175, then maybe. And what is it at now? Right now, like 190. I don't know.
Yeah, something. And he's like a 90 WRC plus. So he's a little bit below league average. Like it's not atrocious. But a lot of that's being carried by his super hot streak.
Yeah, he's at 187 right now. I feel like if it drops below like 175, then I think we have to have a conversation about it. But like, I don't know what you do with that because he has 16 home runs, which at one point was like third in the National League. But he hasn't hit one since then, so I don't know.
I agree with the sentiment like from Neilio here that at some point though throwing the same guy just can't like it hasn't been super competitive, but I think to Andrew's point it has looked better recently. Like he has been hitting the ball better, it hasn't been as atrocious. And then we've also seen, like, I know it's the second time this year, the beginning of the year was a little bit overstated how bad he was. Now it's actually like horrible, but he had that last year too. And actually last year he had a month where he was like April. He had a month he was an 80 WRC plus guy. Let me pull up this infamous Nolan Gorman article I wrote where I said
I mean, we talk about like the national media talks about Ohtani in June. I feel like we as Cardinal fans should start talking about Nolan Gorman in June, but like the opposite of Ohtani in June.
Yeah, he's been really bad. So, like, okay, here's the thing. So last year, I'm going through WRC plus by month since March, April 2023. March, April 2023, 135 WRC plus. May 2023, 155 WRC plus. June 2023, 22 WRC plus. July 2023, 152 WRC plus. August 2023, 80 WRC plus. September or August or 80 for August. September, October was a 145 WRC plus last year, and then this year 78 WRC plus in March, April. So that's like his August last year. May 161, he was awesome, and then June it was a 153 to start June, and then he fell off. So if you look at last year, it's like this June is like last June for him. April was like his August. May was like 4 months he had. He had 4 months of a 135 WRC plus or better. He had 2 months with a 150 WRC plus or better. So personally, I think it'd take to the All-Star break right now for me to call, because to Andrew's point, unless Newbar is healthy and you call up Jordan Walker, I don't think, like, I know Matt Carpenter's been better.
Well, like when Edmund comes back, theoretically, well, then he'll just replace Tiani.
Yeah, so I don't think so. Like when Newbar's back, when Newbar's back, you still keep Gorman in the lineup, in my opinion. But yeah, I think you can maybe sit him more often for Carp. But then I think the only reason you would actually send him down is if you're bringing back Jordan Walker. So I don't know. That's just me personally. I get why people would say that though, but I just think he's been a guy that, he just is streaky. So kind of sucks, but he's hot. He's hot. So, and again, I think he's kind of moving toward like and this has been something I think Kyle Reese over on Twitter's pointing out a lot, that Gorman kind of has this thing where he kind of like, you can tell he's about to get it going the way he's hitting the ball. And to me, it kind of feels like that right now. So I know today he had 3 strikeouts. So like the strikeouts are the strikeouts, but anyways, so I think that's pretty much all of it today. Also, yeah, y'all should follow the Note News pod. Our friends over there are doing a great job, John and Alec. So if you're a Blues fan, especially if the draft just happened, go follow Note News over on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. They also are on Instagram and Twitter as well. They've been on, I think Alec's been on, or John's been on the podcast before, so we'll have to get Alec on at some point too. So been really fun. Again, obviously, if you're listening now and you aren't subscribed already, we'd really appreciate that. Like the episode as well. It really helps the episode get out there. Let us know if there's anything you want us to talk about in the coming weeks as well. The episodes, we'll get some guests on again soon as well. It's always fun to have people on, but really appreciate you guys jumping on. Thanks for joining us today. Excited about this team. I don't know what the future holds for it, but I think it's clearly not 2023 anymore. They're clearly at least going to be in it in the race. So until next time.
Well, don't say that.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks.